Hello there, VC. Dark Dove here with another vinyl update for you all. And I am going to show you some stuff which I got on Record Store Day, plus some more other pickups. Yesterday I met with the VC's own Ben Costello, who came down from Limerick. Uh, for I picked up an item for him on RSD Day. I won't tell you what it is because uh, I'm sure he'll want to show it himself. But he up in Limerick, there aren't any stores participating in RSD Day, so I got this particular item which he very much wanted, and he brought me as well some VCLT. So I'm going to start off with that. One of the items he got me was something I've been looking for quite a while, and that is Switched on Back by Wendy Walter Carlos, who is primarily best known for the soundtrack to the movie A Clockwork Orange. Now, this came out in 1968, and it was probably one of the first really kind of commercially successful all electronic albums. It's in lovely condition, CBS. It's a first pressing, as it has the old maestro himself is sitting down on the front cover. Later editions would have had him standing up, and I think that for people hearing this album, it sounds incredibly fresh. It sounds very contemporary, and I think people hearing this back in 1968 would have probably had the same. They probably would have been taken aback as the old maestro himself on the cover there. So thanks very much for that, Ben. That's not all that he got me. Bear with me 2 seconds. He also got me this. This is a group who I have featured quite frequently in my previous videos. They need no introduction. The Cabaret Voltaire. This album is so it's one of their kind of mid-period recordings from 1984. It's microphonies, and it's from kind of, by the time they brought this out, they were kind of moving kind of more away from the industrial experimental sound of their earlier recordings into the more kind of dancey electronic kind of sound, just kind of influenced kind of by New Order. So there's some great tunes on here. Digital Rasta, James Brown, Sensoria. Can I just point out as well, rather unusually, this did not come with the cover. This is actually an inner sleeve. So and I spotted something kind of a bit strange here. 54% of indicated cost is an optional warranty. Insurance premium. See terms and conditions of trade for full details. So the cabbies were doing insurance on the side. Okay, so just by the way, what you hear there in the background is I was telling you about this yesterday, Ben. This is a compilation which came out about 2 years ago. It's called Strange Passion, and it is full title is Explorations in Irish Post-Punk, DIY and Electronic Music 1980 to 83. So I've shown it before. I've shown it when I got it originally, but it's just, if anybody watching can track it down, it is well worth getting. The track that's on there now at the moment is the Peridots, No Water, and a lot of the groups on this are they're very, very obscure. There are a lot of them. You know, they just release. They made one recording. They just made one release, or a lot of these weren't even released at the time. The only kind of really well-known groups on here are probably the Virgin Prunes, Roger Doyle's group, Operating Theatre is on here as well. But yeah, so well worked. It's on Finder Keepers Records, by the way. So Record Store Day, over a week ago now, but I didn't pick up much in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality, it was pretty amazing. Now, on the day itself, one of my pickups was this. Now, this is not an RSD release, but I grabbed it anyway. It's by Goblin, who are famous, you know, the Italian prog band who are famous for their soundtrack work for Dario Argento. And this is a mini album which came out last year, and it's actually re-recordings of their most famous soundtrack work. So we reworkings of the theme from Suspiria, from Tenebrae, Profondo Rosso, aka Deep Red, and it is fantastic. It is amazing. They do. I mean, it's not just kind of straight re-recordings. They do. It's complete reinterpretations of the actual tracks. Suspiria in particular is amazing, and it's this really nice looking red vinyl. So that's one to look out for. One to grab if you see it in your local record store. And can I just point out as well, it's got this fantastic cover artwork by Graham Humphreys. Now on the day itself, I didn't have much money on me. I was a bit strapped for cash because there was a load of kind of things like 40th birthday parties, and it was my dad's 70th as well, and there was a kind of family gatherings and things. There was a lot of stuff going on over the weekend, so I was kind of strapped for cash basically, with all that kind of socializing going on. So I didn't get much on the day. This was my other pickup on RSD Day. This is by a band called Teeth of the Sea. Now, can I just point out that this was a completely blind buy, because I knew very little about this. I was going to get the Pixies' new EP. Subsequently, which has gotten kind of poor enough reviews, so I'm kind of glad I didn't get that now in hindsight. So this is a limited edition, 300 copies. It's actually a field in England. It's the reworking to the soundtrack to this movie which came out last year, A Field in England, which is it's based during the time of the English Civil War in the mid-17th century. Now there's actually this was done in collaboration with the Triskel Art Centre, which is where I actually bought this, because that's where Plugged, the record shop, is based here in Cork. How to describe this? It's excellent. It's kind of like, there's electronic elements, there's acoustic, there's kind of elements of it that sound a bit like spaghetti western. There's elements of kind of military style drumming, which I suppose emphasize, you know, the kind of period, you know, the kind of theme of the movie. Also, it is also on red vinyl, so beautiful looking, and limited to 300 copies. So you know, I think it will be a future big collector's item. So There we go. Now, the next item I actually spotted on RSD Day. I didn't have enough money to get it then, and I decided, oh shit, I'll just have to leave that anyway. I came back a few days later, and I didn't expect it to be still there, but still there it was. So I grabbed it. So this is Liars, Mess on a Mission. Now, I know virtually nothing about this band. All I know about them is that they're from New York, they're from Brooklyn. They're kind of alternative rock. But I mean, who cares what's on the album? I mean, something looks like this. I mean, they could have it could have like 40 minutes of somebody farting on it, for all I cared. It's just, I mean, it just looks amazing. It's basically colored string embedded into the vinyl. So it's like nothing I've seen before. It really is just a completely unique kind of an item, and it's one of 1,000 copies. So it's going for crazy money on eBay at the moment, and but to be quite honest, I am very strongly tempted to sell it, because I kind of I would love to keep it, but I've spent so much money, and I spent so much money on all kind of family gatherings and birthday parties and everything last weekend, and there is a wedding coming up, not myself, not my own, but a family wedding coming up in May, which is going to cost me an absolute fortune. So I think I will probably have to sell a few of my items, and I think this may well be one of them, but we'll see. Now, the next couple of items, the next two items that I'm going to show you, I picked them up in a kind of a vintage shop come record store, which has opened in the last couple of months here in Cork. I was in there browsing, and I spotted something very intriguing in the jazz section. I didn't know anything about this group. I contacted Ben, I texted him, and I said, the Contact Trio. I told him, I told him what label it was on, and he said he'd never heard of them, but he said he'd look it up. He got back to me and he said, the Japo label, just grab it with both hands, and so I did. It turns out it's by a German jazz fusion group. It was released in 1978. This is a German pressing. It's on again Japo, and it turns out that it's quite rare. This particular pressing is quite rare. It's on this very kind of unusual kind of board, very stiff kind of cardboard, which I think might be recycled. I think Ben pointed it out yesterday when I showed it to him. It's recycled cardboard. So I will try and pronounce these guys' names correctly, but Evert Brett Schneider, acoustic and electric guitars, Alois Kott, bass, and Michael Julik, percussion, marimba, and vibes. This is an absolutely fantastic album. It is really kind of pushing the boat in terms of, it's really pushing the envelope out in terms of, jazz fusion, kind of more experimental side of jazz. And if you can track this down, if you're a big jazz fan of kind of fusion into the more kind of experimental side of jazz. I would suggest tracking this down if you can, but apparently it's quite rare. The other item which I got at that same shop, I did a deal with these two items. They were both looking for €20 for each, but I got the two of them for 30. This is when I saw this, I was like, I saw the name Echo and the Bunnymen, and I was looking at this, I was like, what the hell is this? It's a test pressing, by the way, as far as I can figure out. White label test press. If you can just make out Rust, Echo and the Bunnymen. So that is a single which came out in 1999. It's a double 7-inch release. So I can't find out anything very little about it online. It's a bit mysterious. There's kind of doesn't seem to be a lot known about it. The guy who sold it to me said he got it from a record shop in Sheffield, England. So it's a very interesting find, I think. And I'd say it must be pretty rare because there doesn't seem to be an awful lot about it online. So two very interesting items there. I'll finish off with something I found in a charity shop. I've been having a lot of luck with charity shops lately, because charity shops are places that you don't associate with interesting pickups. I mean, as I said before, is mostly just complete crap. The average charity shop. But this is something I spotted last weekend, actually, in the window of a charity shop, which was selling for €6. This is Pink Floyd, Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and this is a CD box set. So there's 3 CDs. So it presents the album in mono and in stereo, and then there's an extra CD which has alternative versions, and there's also CMLE play. There's loads of great photos, great pictures, notes, and there's also Sid Barrett himself. There's a reproduction of a kind of a notebook which Sid Barrett did in the mid-60s, around about 1965. So it's basically collages, collage artwork, and some of his writing, some of his notes, which just reading, they're pretty surreal. I'd say it was clearly on the influence of the old LSD heavily at the time, I'd say, when he came up with this stuff. So this is pretty amazing. This is something that you wouldn't come across every day. It's a real insight into the man's mind at the time. That's very interesting pickup. I'm very happy with that. So that's it. That's everything. I've managed to keep it just under the 20-minute mark, so I'm doing okay. So thanks very much for watching, and all the best to everybody on the VC.